welcome to the December 7th meeting of the Audit Committee. Mr. Chair, if you'd like to call us to order.
Sure, please call the roll.
Absolutely. Chair Krasansky.
Thanks.
Director Corcoran.
Here.
Director DeMarquis.
Here.
And Director Zarofsky.
I'm here.
All right, we have the complete committee.
Thank you. First thing is we have minutes from the June 22nd Audit Committee meeting, and if people have looked at that and anybody want to make a motion to make any changes or just approve it.
I'll make the motion to approve, Chairman.
Great. Second?
Second.
Great. All in favor of approving the minutes as they're written? Aye.
Aye.
Great. Great. Thank you. Quarterly financial reports, Albert will present them. He'll go through them during the packet. And so take it away, Albert.
All right, thank you. So first, let's start with the mid-year update, which is a comparison of the current year actuals through September 30th through versus the revised budget. So basically, we're in good shape. All line items are really on pace with expectation, other than some known timing differences. Those timing differences include bond financing fees, which are in line with the time of our bond deals. So we just closed one, so we'll be at 100% as of today. Admin fees, the New York water fees, which make up the majority, are paid in June. Interest income on investments, is slightly below target. We have carryover accruals from when rates were lower last year. So we're seeing that slightly below where we project to be at the end of the year, but it'll obviously pick up back to 100%. We're projecting. That other notes, the admin fee expense account. These are the some programs we pay for out of admin funds. So these we always project the full payment, whether that actually happens within this fiscal year or not. It usually does not, but to be conservative, we want to make sure that we have the full amount accounted for. So that some of that will likely carry over into next year. And then project grant revenues, we're right on pace, which is it's a big number. And this reflects the fact that we've begun drawing funds much more consistently throughout the year. It used to be that this would be one big draw at the end of the year, but we've revised our processes, so now we are consistently taking in dollars throughout the year. Any questions on that one? No? All right. So next we have the financial statements themselves. I find it's always useful to really look at the analysis first, and then dive into the actual statements if necessary. So the first 3 pages of the statement of net position, statement of revenues, and then statement of revenues, expenses, and change in net position, and then the admin costs. So any questions on the financials themselves before I move to the analysis? All right. So start with the analysis of net position. So cash and cash equivalents are up. We had 2023B close in June. So that significantly increased our cash, and we see corresponding increases in bonds and direct financings receivable. Accrued interest on cash and investments. The increase here is due to the rising rates year over year. So compared to the prior fiscal year, we have significantly more accruals on our balance sheet, as to be expected in this rate environment. Grants dispersed and principal forgiveness. We're at 42%, but that's pretty of where we expect to be. But we expect this to accelerate throughout the year as we have bill dollars going out of the door. Short-term direct financing, we see an increase due to a decrease due to the New York City closing and also rolling SMLP projects to long-term. Within the September 30th timeframe, we did roll New York City SMLP long-term. So that that contributes to that, as well as the direct financings receivable line. And then again, as of Tuesday, we closed 2023C, so we'll see an increase in cash of about 80 million, and then a shift from short-term receivables to long-term receivables on the balance sheet. Next, so any questions on that one? All right. Trying to move it along. Revenues, expenses, and changes in net position. So interest income investments, we see a higher, significantly higher due to significantly higher rates year over year. I believe it was this time last year when rates really started to accelerate. So through 9/30 of the prior year, we were significantly lower in investment income. Project grant revenues, again, we're drawing funds at a higher rate. We have more, we're drawing more frequently, and we have a large New York City short-term draw that contributes to the increase, and we expect more of those. State assistance payments. This is a line item in both revenue and expense, and we're getting more dollars out of the door. This is these are the actual disbursements to WIA projects.
But let me ask you about that, though. On the revised budget, current year, grants dispersed / principal forgiveness, so the two together,
Yep.
is down by
So
30%.
that's SRF.
Right.
So that's the bill grant is
Yep.
really the driver of that. So we that's going to be one of the categories that we see shift consistently because the timing of those.
So it'll be a lot more. Again, the
So-
numbers for coming years are much higher.
Exactly.
It just hasn't hit.
Right, and so that's going to be you're getting ahead of
Sorry.
where we're going to be, but but that's going to be one of the
Timing.
themes in the budget and financial plan
Right.
is the timing of
Right.
those bill draws when we're drawing the funds versus when we get those dollars out of the door. So,
Good.
Yep, good question. All right, and then the grants dispersed again. Last year we did have a lot of SMLP grant go out for in the period, again, from 9/30 to 9/30, not necessarily the full fiscal year. So that's why we see a decrease on here in that grants dispersed, which is different from the WIA grants, which is the state assistance payments expense.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions on that, or I'll move to the
And that is the end of the SMLP program.
correct.
So,
Yep.
yes, we'll see.
So on from SMLP and on to Bill. All right, so analysis of admin costs. Really, we have higher headcount. We're growing, which is a good thing. You also see that we're getting out there more. You see more expenses in travel, and training, and conferences. So I think again, a good thing. And then the other SRF admin expenses, it's up significant percentage-wise, and this is these are grants that are paid from admin funds to Mount Vernon as well, mainly. So, any questions?
On the equipment purchases and the software and support maintenance, they go together, they increase because you
Yep, I think those are computer purchases.
squared away for new technology.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
As we discussed, or
Yep. And
we'd expect to see that investment.
yep. Yes, I think we're certainly trying to keep on top of all of that because it'll pay off in the long end.
So you mentioned Mount Vernon. Remind me again, that's corporate? No,
No, so there's clean water admin fund.
clean water admin.
Yeah,
Got it.
there's
That's what
working
comes
from
out.
clean
That's the
water.
Got it.
capacity
Yep.
thing
Got it.
that we,
Got it.
Yep.
Great. Perfect. It makes sense.
All right. Next, quarterly investment report. So it's an inventory of all of our investments held by the corporation by account and investment type, and then a reconciliation to EFC's general ledger, making sure that this inventory actually matches what's on our financial statements. So that is it for the mid-year update and review of the financial statements. Any Further questions?
So the investment report, again, the interest rates, that's the big story.
Yep, yep, and our holdings, I don't think our strategy has changed significantly. Maybe utilizing money market a little bit more because
Right.
money market pays pretty well, but really the long-term.
Yes, there's no,
We're buy and hold.
yeah, there's no change
We're
in
holding everything to maturity.
what to hold and the safety of it,
Yeah.
et cetera. Okay.
No, our investment guidelines haven't changed.
And the state, there's nothing at the state level either going on. That we know of. No, great. Anybody, I don't know, any other questions?
And our money market is good, so you use that as a place temporary to put money in, which, if I may, what rate are we getting on our money market now?
I believe it was about 1.15, 5.20.
It's between 5.15 and 5.25, depending upon the day and stuff. So,
That's
really
great.
good.
Yep.
yeah,
I believe we changed money market funds last year.
we changed it sometime in the past year to go to a money market that was a little bit higher paying.
Yep.
And the reason it was higher paying is because it's less fees.
Sure.
So.
Great, good, that's good.
I have a budget question, but it's really not for Albert. It's sort of really you had made a comment about budget and about maybe GIGP. We couldn't have another round or, again, budget related. Do we have the ability to do that? I'm wondering if there's any update on the thinking.
Well, and that's not budget so much as the SRF dollars coming in and us zeroing out the current. So no update. We don't know what the appropriations are going to be, but we are looking at ways in which we may be able to have a GIGB.
Okay.
And we'll keep you updated
Great.
if we do.
Okay. Thank you. Good. Guess does we have a discussion, huh? Anybody else have a discussion for Albert? He's here. Emily's here. Got the
No,
experts.
thank you, guys.
Sorry?
I said, no, thank you.
And just for everyone who's in person, the next item, the budget and financial plan, there's a Post-it marking out where that is, an ID number 1, so we didn't have redundancy just before Albert starts on that.
Right.
All right. So
Great.
budget and financial plan, it's substantially the same as the proposed budget and financial plan that was sent around over a month ago. The one big change is that I think we're going to be able to draw in some more drinking water bill general supplemental funds than was projected in the original plan. So there was, I think we're planning on, there's some question as to whether we would actually get the grant in this fiscal year or the next fiscal year. It's looking like this fiscal year, so we moved it up. So it's just a shift from next year to this year. The story is really as we've been discussing, bill grants and interest rates. The bill grants, the general supplemental has universal eligibility, which allows us to draw them against any SRF disbursements, not necessarily just bill identified projects. So it's really beneficial to the program in that we can do our draws for bill before we actually disperse the bill designated projects. So right now we're taking those funds in probably sometime after this financial plan. We'll see that reverse though. We'll see the grant dollars that are going to build projects go out more, at a higher rate than we're able to draw in funds because we'll have taken them in already. Better to have $1 now than $1 later.
So let me ask about the timing of the New York State Bond Act. Tell me what we expect in the timing when those projects start happening and how it will be reflected here.
Well, we went out with the first round of Bond Act money teamed with our WIA grants. So we hope to be announcing the WIA awards shortly. And with that will be the $200 million in Bond Act.
200.
Yeah, and 225 in WIA dollars.
From a financial statement perspective, we would see that in the state assistance payments
Mhm.
line, which is to the financial plan. It's a recognized revenue and expense at the same time.
Yeah. Okay. But the timing in this coming year, there'll be more.
I think, you'll see.
All of it? I mean, I guess I'm wondering, like you said, it's not like bill money,
No.
it'll show up when it's being,
There
when
needs
it's
to be a
being,
tighter correlation between the spending
Yeah,
and the
that's right.
cause for the
Mhm.
bond act,
Got it.
because they're actively managing it,
Yes.
especially since this is a GO.
Yep.
Instead of.
that's right, that's right, that's right. Okay, good.
Yeah, I mean, and like the projects follow a typical project life cycle, which take
Yep.
a while to develop.
I guess on that, so the state issues the debt. The proceeds sit where until they're used?
They're reimbursed.
Debt after.
No, that was all reimbursed, got it,
It's all
sorry,
reimbursed.
got it, thank you,
Right.
great.
General fund first instance.
Yes.
Yeah, we identify the projects in there.
And then, got it, thank you, good.
And it's tighter for tax law purposes that
Right.
way.
Right, exactly, you can identify where the money goes, useful,
And
thank
you've
you.
got the 18-month window for taxes.
Yeah, great.
All right. So also interest rates have really the biggest impact of the financial plan we see is that it really is positive for our admin funds. We're able to actually take less admin funds from the CAP grants and put those dollars to projects. So while keeping our admin funds flush, and so that's it's really that's why we're all here. And so yeah, and then we might see, although this isn't forecast in the plan, as rates go up, bond prices go down. So our long-term portfolio, we might see a decrease in unrealized gain or loss, but that's, again, we hold to maturity. So it's no practical impact. And it's not something that we actually project. So included in the plan are a revised forecast of 23-24, actual versus budget for the prior fiscal year, a forecast of fiscal years ending 2025 through 2028, projected employees, and then projected debt outstanding and debt service. So the revised budget and budget reconciliation, look at this fiscal year. I mean, we're in good shape. We're expecting positive changes in net across all funds. Again, due to the same things we keep talking about, bill grant draws and interest income. The plan draws from the CAP grant for admin will be later in the year, and we'll kind of target those to how much we need versus, and then we can roll those into the next year if we don't wind up drawing them.
One thing I wanted to mention is the increase in staff from, I think it shows 102 up to 115. We are busy hiring a lot of people. We actually have 8 postings right now for financial analysts, debt service, IT director, engineering, project coordinators. We want more people for technical assistance. So that number may be even larger than 115. We really want to make sure we have enough folks to provide the technical assistance to have the IT people we need and be able to service, all of our clients, financial analysts and engineering. So.
Yeah, that's great. I support that. It's good to focus on IT and have that upgrade and always kept up to speed. Good.
Yeah, and that story continues into the future years. I think we see while for the plan we didn't project rates to stay this high. We kind of took them down over the next few years. We still expect everything to be positive in the admin funds, and we, if necessary, although hopefully not, we still we're not taking the full amount of the admin dollars from grants. So we could we have a lever to pull if necessary on that end. And then we continue to see, significantly positive results in the program funds due to the dollars that are expected to come in. Again, that's probably going to reverse after these plan years when we've already drawn in the bill dollars, but we're dispersing additional subsidization in the form of grant unbilled projects. And then Yeah, and then, also included our debt projections, so projected bond issuances, and then, we layer on top of that our existing portfolio. And the corporation is in really, really good financial shape. That's the bottom line. And, that's really, due to the careful stewardship of, everyone here and everyone who's come before too. So, thank you, everyone.
Thanks. Anybody have any questions? Comments?
Quit while we're ahead.
Exactly.
I mean, he summarized it right there. It is due to all of those things and all of you people, so thank you.
Thanks for everything you do. Great. It looks good. So what we just covered, of course, is in ID number 1 on the board agenda. And it's all the materials are with the board. So at this point, because we're in audit, I'll take a motion and a second to recommend to the full board that we approve these documents.
So moved.
All in favor? That's a second, I think.
Yep.
Okay, all in
Aye.
favor of approving and moving on to the full board? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And I think unless we have anything else, if anybody wants to make a motion to adjourn, we'll adjourn this meeting and go into the full board. Motion? Make a motion and a second.
Motion to adjourn the meeting.
Great. Second? There we
Here
go.
it goes.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you. Great.
But I'm certainly not logging out again.
Good.
Oh. Mr. Chair, would you like to roll straight into the board meeting or would you like to pause briefly?
I'm good. Yeah, all right, great. Let's keep it going.
It's 11:29 now, so I think we can in good conscience get started. No substantive business will happen until we have that. Chair Stefanko,
Here.
Director Westerman,
Here.
Director Leary. Oh, he's off camera. There he is. Director Leary. Director Corcoran.
Here.
Director DeMarkey.
Here.
Director Krasansky.
Here.
And Director Zarofsky.
I'm here.
We have the entire board.
Great. Welcome, everyone, to the Thursday, December 7th board meeting of the Environmental Facilities Corporation. It is 11:29. First item on the agenda is approval of the draft minutes from November 2nd board meeting. All members were present. Can I have a motion and a second for those approvals?
So moved.
Thank you, Adam. I think that was.
Yep.
Yep.
Wait a second.
Second.
We got a duel in James and Vita. Any discussion? Excellent. All those in favor of the minutes from November 2nd? Aye.
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 Unanimous. Report of the chair. I have nothing to report. I hope everyone survived Thanksgiving as we roll into the next round of holidays. A little snow.
Yeah.
Fun driving. Won't be safe, although it's going to be 60 this weekend.
Is it really?
That's,
Mhm.
I guess so. Crazy. We'll move on to Madam President's report.
Okay, just a few things. 2023C, the pool closing. Financing closed on Tuesday. And Brian and folks have been keeping you up to date all along, but in case Emily or Brian have anything to add? No?
No, just highlighting again that this deal will be able to deliver approximately $60 million in subsidy credits for them and $165 million worth of projects.
For 23
22.
communities for 25 projects. Good to have that closed as we move into the new year and look towards our New York City deal. Kate had sent around to all the members the proposed 2024 board calendar. If you noticed or didn't notice, we removed another meeting for next year, that in November. The bylaws require that we have a meeting at least every other month. End of the year is quiet, so we thought we could skip November and handle those projects in December. So if anybody has any questions, we've now eliminated 3 over the last years. Try to keep them down to, kind of what we need. Last meeting was pretty small, so especially if folks are going to travel, we'd rather have a nice, robust meeting than one that's only got a couple of projects. So that's that. And if everybody's on board, we can accept that. If anybody's got any questions. Certainly subject to change as things require.
Thanks for getting it out early too. It really helps to plan the year.
Good.
Yes, thank you.
Well, 6 of us participated, as I had mentioned, in the CIFA conference out in Oklahoma City. It was great. It's always, as I said, great to hear from other states, other SRFs, and what they are doing. On Sunday, we went out early. I went out on Saturday. A bunch of folks went out on Sunday. All 6 of us went out on Sunday and had a big discussion with all of the SRFs on a number of topics about maybe what things would you do differently if you're starting the SRFs now. Very good conversation, and always nice, again, to hear what other SRFs said. And as I had mentioned, Bill did a presentation on asset management. Mayor Cunningham did one on technical assistance, and I presented on the clean water, how we got projects for clean water, emerging contaminants. So all of those were well received, and it was great listening to other folks' presentations. So they're already talking about their meeting in DC in April. So ethics training for everybody, for the independent members, not everybody. The independent members will be held immediately after the January 18th board meeting.
And if there's
So
any
it's a refresher.
issues, just let me know. We can work
Figure
around
out-
your schedule.
Right, make sure that everybody can take that refresher course.
Okay,
And then
and that's all of us, right?
the
The
independent, yep,
independent board members, yep.
So that's January 18th then.
Yes, ma'am.
yep, right after the board meeting.
I know I heard you. I just want to make sure that I can be there in person.
No worries. I'll send out a reminder as well.
I was gonna say, Kate, not to be too ministerial, but if you could mind send a calendar invite for that so we could just block it out.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Thanks.
yeah.
And it was good to do it in person the last time too. Agreed.
It was,
Mhm.
Oh, good.
agreed.
Hopefully the weather
Yeah.
cooperates. And then last meeting, I had spoken about, we were going to talk a little bit about our hardship policy, our current hardship policy. So I think Bill and Brian will talk about the clean water, and Dave will talk about the drinking water hardship policy.
Before we do that, can I just update them on the fact that Maureen was awarded the Trailblazer and Public Finance Award at Tuesday night at the Bond Buyers Annual Deal of the Year Awards dinner. It was great.
It was.
And so I know I mentioned it last month, but congratulations to Maureen. It was a great event. There was over 400 people there, and well-deserved. And it was nice to see some colleagues that we worked with recently.
It was very nice to see colleagues you haven't seen in years,
Yeah.
except on Zoom. So it was very nice.
Wonderful.
Nice event.
Go on to hardship.
So thanks. So for the hardship, for the clean water hardship, the project criteria is it's got to be municipally owned treatment works or treatment works project. It's got to be environmentally significant project, and it can't have already gone long-term financing. We don't want to be chasing refinancing all of our deals.
I'm sorry, just give us the 4 conditions first again. Municipally owned.
Municipally owned, environmentally significant, just like all of our other projects,
Right.
because they have to be ranked.
Yep,
And then it can't have gone long-term already.
right.
It can be in a short term, but it can't have gone long-term. That's from the project side. From the municipality side, the population must be less than 300,000. If the population is over 300,000, but the project itself serves less than 300,000, then it is eligible.
Which is not just the project, but the entity that's responsible for the debt
Mhm.
is under 300,000.
And the MHI has to be less than 80% of the regionally adjusted MHI, or if it's between 80 and 100% of the regionally adjusted MHI, it's got to be, the municipality's got to be above the statewide poverty rate, family poverty
Yep.
rate.
And I want to address the 300,000 population. There's, I think, 8 communities or entities across the state that are over the 300,000 threshold, population threshold. The reason for the 300,000 population threshold is if you get too high a number of population, the ratepayers are so high that it doesn't have an impact, really. So we really want our hardship financing and grant to go to communities where it would have an impact because it's spread over a number of, ratepayers as opposed to a huge amount of ratepayers, and it really has no impact.
So if your municipality is over the MHI, a potential alternative qualification is EJs and the disadvantaged communities listing. For those, the project has to be 50% of the project has to serve those communities, and a value engineering has to be done for that. Another way is, and we saw a lot of them this year, I think it was almost 30 income surveys. So if a lot of communities don't agree with what the published median household income is, so they can go out and they can survey. And depending upon the size of the project or the community, we have a different rate response that we need for that. But as we said, we got 26 of them or 26 or 30 of them in this time. And we haven't seen that many in a long time. I think it's because of all the bill and the grant dollars. Once an income survey is done, that income survey is good for 5 years. So the other thing that we have is we have some caps. We had $25 million in a 5-year rolling period. So if a community has got multiple projects, we will finance them in hardship up to $25 million. After 5 years, it rolls out and they're eligible again. So somebody that's got a lot of projects, it's not a one and done. It is over time. So
money will release during that period.
Yep. So and then we can go into the additional subsidization that Bill can talk about.
Right, so Brian talked about the loan part of it, the zero interest loan up to $25 million. Beyond that, we can offer additional subsidy in the form of grant or principal forgiveness. In New York, we're going with grant. We offer grant to communities. And this policy is separate from the WIA grants. It's that state money. This is federal. So in addition to qualifying for hardship, the community would also not have closed a financing prior to November 15th, 2021, which is the day that signed the bipartisan infrastructure law. So no EFC financing prior to that date and no other SRF eligible debt prior to November 15th of 2021. Additionally, we restricted to projects that have not issued a notice to proceed to construction before November 15th. The purpose of the bill was to get projects moving, to get people working. So we want projects that had not started. Also, projects cannot be in a long-term financing agreement. The same as Brian had said, we want projects that are still underway. And then not substantially complete before the beginning of the current IUP period. So that date moves, but if a project's already done, they're substantially complete, then they would not be eligible for additional subsidy. They already built the project with the resources that they have. And then just specifically for Bill, because there's a lot of communities are interested in this money. And so if we put a community on the list for 2 consecutive years and they didn't come in, and we're saying no, take them off the list and go to additional communities.
But they can, if they're still qualified, it's just we're not going to say you're qualified and continue to stay
Right.
qualified. They're
Yeah,
gonna
they
need
would.
to requalify.
Yeah.
Do they seek you out? Do they identify, or do you pull them in?
We're sending letters to everyone at the beginning of the IUP period, letting them know that they're eligible or that it's available to. They need to apply, they need to give us a financing application. But we're sending them letters to let them know it's available. If they.
And when you
if the
say,
Project is
yeah,
ready.
seek us out, you mean, how do we know what communities want?
Yeah, I mean, how does it start?
There's a plus, project listing update
An update system.
system where you go in electronically and you give information about your project description,
They
estimated cost,
qualify.
schedule.
Or they should.
Yeah, and the date 11/15, as Bill said, 11/15/21 is a date by bill. The bill was enacted, bipartisan infrastructure law, and that's not something that we said. That's something that we picked. The EPA put out in guidance that if someone has already taken out SRF eligible debt for their project, then we can't provide them grant. We can provide them bill loan, but not bill grant, because again, it's an Infrastructure and Jobs Act. And so they wanted to create jobs, and if you've already moved forward on your project. So that was something that was a little controversial at the beginning, because it wasn't, I think, made clear to folks, and everybody wanted grant, but that is, and we stick by those bills, the bill dates, because on the clean water side, we don't really generally provide clean water grant.
Right.
Drinking water does, but we don't have to provide as much grant as the drinking water side does. And on the clean water side, we use our allocated grant dollars from the Clean Water Act for the GIGP program. They don't have a similar flexibility on the drinking water side. So all of our additional subsidy grant right now is available under the bipartisan infrastructure law. So we have to follow the 11/15/21 date.
Yeah, if the cap grants from EPA were higher, then we would have some other federal grant that we could give out. But
Right.
not the case right now.
I think 2 years is, and then rolling off is more than fair, and we give ample notification and communication. So I think that's a good policy.
Yeah, and we're being proactive with these communities. We're reaching out to them. So if they're not coming in, they're likely not ready.
Right.
Great. And then there is another, for communities that are, say, they're over 300,000 population, but they don't meet the other requirements. We can provide additional subsidy if they meet some certain requirements that are in the Clean Water Act. They need to show that the additional subsidy or the grant benefits residents, and that the residents would have a significant hardship if the grant was not provided. And that this additional subsidy is directed to the individual residents. So that's, if it's a larger community, can they show that they're actually benefiting the residents of the low income area?
Right, by either with a rate structure or some other means, maybe they give a rebate back.
Oh, I see.
Disadvantaged
Targeted?
community.
Targeted.
That's set
Right.
forth in the Clean
They can do
Water
that?
Specifically
Yes.
right in the Clean
Yeah.
Water Act. We haven't seen that be used, but I think we know there are a lot of small communities that have difficulty. Maybe their MHI doesn't meet the hardship criteria, but they're so small that their ratepayers, if you've only got 230 ratepayers, 150 ratepayers, that project is really expensive for those ratepayers. So maybe, we encourage them to start looking at that, and how can they document that is unaffordable. That project would make the rates unaffordable for either if it's just community within that group or the entire community. And how can we document that and then perhaps provide them grants?
So, again, I just think historically, I don't know, does the declining block rate, I mean, isn't our I don't know if everything's structured that way, but it looks to me like you're basically making it cheaper for people with swimming pools and big houses because they pay less per unit of water. I don't know if everything's done that way, but it's almost disadvantaging to me, poor people who probably use less or care about how much they use. So that's a horribly general description. Taking out all, the leaks and the people who don't care. And So I guess, but I am wondering, do you have any impact? Targeting, you could actually target power rated
The
structure,
community would have to
right?
target through
Yes,
their rate
right.
structure.
And they can do that.
I was gonna say, have you guys talked to DPS about this? Because I know they've been looking at different water rate scales to try to address that issue, Charlie.
Right, for private,
State, in terms
Yeah.
of the way they regulate the.
Oh, on the
Oh,
private
private.
side.
private
yeah.
side, yes.
Yeah, we don't,
Well, this clean water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're-
this is-
these are the
Don't give
sewer
this to-
rate.
Public.
yeah, we don't give it to them.
PSC regulated.
Right.
No, I know, but just in terms of experiences and ideas around
Right.
what issues have come up. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah.
suggesting a
Yeah.
formal
No,
regulatory.
that's a good
system, I'm
idea.
suggesting Idea sharing.
Yeah, we'll talk to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because again, it's all generalization, but you can make some generalizations,
Yes.
you know, I mean. So actually, it's sort of an interesting topic. Again, I don't know how much, well, maybe just through this program, you could encourage, let's say, a community that maybe hasn't looked
Mhm.
to say, you know what, there might be a little bit of a fairer way to do this than the way you've been doing it forever, which,
Right.
you know, I don't know, just an idea.
Well, I think that's one of the things that language may foster. when we
Right.
See alternatives to.
Right, exactly, to what you've been doing.
And what they may develop on the local
Right.
level.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we specifically added that in our hardship policy in the IUP last year or this last round to make it clear that that's available. And so we need to really kind of look into where that might be helpful.
Yeah.
So
So I'm wondering, you said $25 million
25 million
Rolling.
maximum.
rolling.
Subsidy. Yeah, so it's 25 million rolling 5-year after.
Yep.
Rolling 5-year for hardship financing.
Right.
And then $25 million in additional subsidization.
So tell me how you're doing on that. Like, what are the levels at? Like, every year, do you use most of it, or are you up against it? Are you
We're,
not close?
Well,
we have more demand,
Right.
just like every.
Oh, you have more demand
More demand.
on the loan side,
On both,
Oh.
the
Both?
loan and the,
Right.
so
Yeah.
we can only give out so much.
and you do. You
Set
get
by
it,
bill.
and it goes out.
We're awarding it and then they have to apply. That's the.
mhm.
Yeah.
The bill program's
back to-
just rolling out now, really.
Right.
Yeah,
On the ground.
there should be a lot more this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bill
I'm-
projects closing.
I'm sorry, Vito, what was that?
And I was saying, and you know, more people are applying and you're able to apply all this criteria and the changes and the analysis effectively, because it's a lot to
Yes.
consider, yeah?
Yeah, most of the qualifications, they've been around, so folks are used to them. There's nothing new.
Uh-huh.
It's the cutoff dates for when you can get the grant.
Okay.
We also, on the clean water side, for WIA, we net out generally we give 25% of the net project costs. We will stack them. We don't net out other EFC grants. So if you get a bill grant and a WIA grant, you could get 50% of project costs. So we wanted to do that now that we have, this influx of money. Although it may be not so much given that depending on what we get in our base grants, but with the influx of money, we wanted to take this opportunity to give larger grants so that because sometimes 25% is still not enough
That's right.
to move projects forward.
And as Mike said, it's a new program, so
Yeah.
the number of applications that have actually come in are on the increase.
Mhm.
As we all know, these aren't shovel-ready projects.
Right.
Doesn't exist in this
No.
infrastructure. So, it's really starting to kick off.
All right, that's clean water. You can talk about it.
Okay, so for drinking water, a lot of similarities, but not completely similar. So we're talking about hardship. First, we want to determine what communities are considered disadvantaged communities. So there's 2 criteria. One, the municipal population needs to be under 300,000, similar to clean water for the same reasons. We want to, not give the grant money to large populations where it's only going to save users $1 or $2 a year, more for smaller projects where this could be the difference between doing a generational project or not doing the project at all. That 300,000 population applies to all grants except the bill lead service line funding. I want to be very clear on that. Does not apply for the lead service line money. Communities also need to meet affordability criteria, so they need to meet one of the following. So based on the 2021 ACS or based on the income survey, they need to have an MHI under 80% of the regionally adjusted city budget. If they're above 80% but less than 100% of the statewide MHI, then if their poverty rate is above the statewide poverty rate, then they're in. Or if they don't meet either one of those two, but 50% of the project scope or cost or area served benefits a designated EJ area, then they're in. And we use the New York State DEC potential EJ area maps for that purpose. So we actually compare the map of the project service area that's provided in the engineering report to those EJ maps. And then we have project eligibility criteria. So it has to be municipally owned, a drinking water project, or can be a privately owned community public water system that is regulated by the New York State Public Service Commission. The project can't have closed on any EFC financing before the beginning of the fiscal year in which the award is made. So we're a little more strict there, and we want to concentrate on getting the money to help projects start up, not projects that are already on their way. So the project can't have reached substantial completion also by the beginning of the fiscal year. And then we don't award projects that have any SRF eligible debt prior to November 15, 2021, the enactment date of the bill. And then for certain bill pots, specifically the EC and the lead pots, they have to demonstrate that they can meet our equivalency requirements, which is the federal environmental and cross-cutter requirements. As far as for funding limitations, for the base SRF and the bill general supplemental, those are very similar because they're we call them fungible eligibilities or universal eligibilities. The funding limits for those projects are 70% for grants, 70% of the net eligible cost, not to exceed 5 million for a project. And those are not stackable on top of WIA. So if the project receives 5 million through WIA, they would not receive additional money through these programs. A community could come in every fiscal year and receive the maximum amount if they had a separate independent project. But each individual project would be limited to that $5 million maximum for its lifetime. Each community in those programs would also be eligible for up to 14 million in interest-free loan. And for those programs, that's over per community over a 5-year rolling period. And then any money that they would need beyond the 5 plus 14 would be eligible at subsidized interest rate to the base program. For Bill EC, eligibility is a little different. So there's only grant money here. There's no loan. And we can award some of this grant to non-disadvantaged communities. But we give a little advantage to the disadvantaged communities. They can receive 100% of project costs up to 5 million in a grant if they meet the EC requirements. Non-disadvantaged communities in the Bill EC program can get 70% of the project costs, still up to 5 million. And again, it would be municipalities could submit a project each year. If it's a separate independent project, they could get that maximum award each year. But a specific project would be limited to the 5 million max. And then with the bill lead service line money, the grant money is only for disadvantaged communities. There's loan money available, interest-free loan that can go to non-disadvantaged communities. So for a lead service line replacement project, they're actually replacing the pipes in the ground. The grant limit is 70% of the eligible project costs, up to a maximum of $10 million. And then for a lead service line inventory project, it's 100% of the project costs, up to $2 million. One community could, in one fiscal year, get both the 10 and the 2 for a maximum of 12. But again, that would be their limit for the year. They could come back in a future year with separate projects and get that $12 million max again in a upcoming year. And then the $14 million cap also for interest-free loan also applies for lead service line. So that's per community per year within that program. And I just want to know, these are very competitive. The base hardship program, there's not a whole lot of money recently because the cap grants are small. So that's very competitive. The bill programs, there's a lot more money. They're still competitive. There's still a lot more demand than what we have. So we have eligible project lists for each of the bill funding pots, and we award project score order just down the list until the funding has been exhausted. We're reaching projects that have lower scores with grant money than we ever have, which is great, but we're still not reaching nearly all the demand that we have. So, questions?
I'll start with one. You mentioned so privately owned drinking water regulated by the PSC.
Yeah.
Does that include trailer parks?
Yeah, right. No. Typically, trailer parks are not regulated by PSC because it's all contained within one.
Right. So it's not PSC regulated. So they wouldn't qualify.
I guess if you strung a couple, if it has 2 pieces of property and it crossed over the property, then they have to be regulated. But
if it's just a privately owned well with 50.
And in the past, we have actually done 1 or 2 trailer parks. Those loans have been paid off. That's how old they were, but they were not hardship.
Right. They're eligible for the base financing, just not hardship. And this has been in our program for years, and the reasoning is if a grant went to an owner of a mobile home park, there's no guarantee that the savings would be passed along to the actual resident.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Yeah. And if it's PSC regulated, they know about the grant, so they make sure that the rates get it.
And they approve the rates, I think, too.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
More control.
Thank you.
I like that we're reaching into lower scores, which is always something you hear about. We just can't score high enough to get any money, and so it's good we're starting to touch a little bit down there. So that's always good.
Yeah, we do also, I don't know if the drinking water does, but we overbook it. So we do in score order as well, but then we say, if we get 100 million in grants available, we'll go down to 200 on whatever we think of that year, knowing that not everybody's going to come in. So if we've got folks lower on the list in score and they're ready to move forward, we want to, they're still all decent projects. If, they're still got water quality benefits, most of them. If not, they'll score too low and they wouldn't be eligible anyways. So if they're ready to go, we want them to be able to go forward, because others may sit there and not move forward, and then in 2 years need to requalify. But meanwhile, we can hit the ones that are ready to go.
How close do we get to that, hitting it right, the 100%, 80%, 85%, every year?
It's
Not so much.
untested yet under bill because it's so early,
I see.
but I think we'll have an answer for you
Yeah.
in a year.
Yeah, it took, as Brian
Takes
said,
a
it
while.
took a little while for them to,
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Yep.
get moving. So we're hoping to see a big increase this year.
Just off the top of your head, what's the biggest hardship that you guys have seen? I mean,
When you say.
like you said, like, sort of New York City's obviously no, but then these overlay, like you said, you can sort of do a map overlay and sort of,
Population wise?
well, yeah,
I mean, we've done Albany, Rochester,
okay. Well,
Binghamton, I don't know that we.
Oh, Binghamton Johnson.
Was a huge.
and they qualify.
Yeah, and they had a huge project.
They had
They had a lot going on.
Mine too.
Thank you, great. Really helpful.
Great overview.
Okay. I think that concludes your report, correct?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we did have a committee, audit committee met today, directed by Member Krasansky with a great presentation from Albert. Charlie, you want to touch on that a little bit?
Yeah, Albert gave an overview of the 24-25 fiscal year draft budget and financial plan for EFC. Give a presentation, we talked about it, thorough, positive, very positive status of where we are and how things look. And the committee recommended that the full board approve.
Okay. Well, then, without further ado, we'll move on to that resolution. Why don't we start with resolution number 1?
Certainly, a resolution of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation approving the proposed 2024-2025 fiscal year draft budget and financial plan of the corporation.
Great, thank you. Could I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Charlie.
Second.
Francis and James with the second. Albert with the presentation.
Thank you. So before the board is the proposed 24-25 fiscal year budget and financial plan. As discussed at the audit committee meeting, it's substantially the same as the draft plan that went out about a month ago. And, EFC is in an excellent financial position, both a program and an administrative standpoint. And that, continues throughout the life of the plan. So within the plan included are a revised forecast of 24-25, an actual versus budget for fiscal year 22-23, a forecast of fiscal years ending 2025 through 2028, a projected employee headcount by fund, and projected debt outstanding and debt service. And from the projections shown, the biggest deviations are likely to be in short-term interest rate changes and then timing of cap grant draws, as we've discussed. Risks are probably out beyond this financial plan. Again, as we've discussed just a little bit on earmarks, if they continue to reduce the base grant beyond when we get bill funds. But even in that scenario, we have enough reserves in our admin fund to sustain. And then the mechanics of the program is designed to run in perpetuity. So, as long as it's well managed, which I strongly believe it is, we'll be good. So again, due to the great job that everyone does here.
Agreed. Discussion? Questions for Albert? Awesome. Okay, all those in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous. Resolution number 2.
A resolution of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation making certain determinations and authorizing certain actions in connection with the Drinking Water State Revolving Fund.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second, please?
I'll make a motion.
Christine, Vita with the second. Thank you, Vita. Dave Phillips with the presentation.
All right, thank you. We have 2 projects before the board today. The first one is for the town of Minerva in Essex County. It's for short-term market rate financing. The project will replace approximately 6,000 linear feet of aged water mains along Route 2810 in Townshend Road. The work also includes replacement of associated valves and hydrants. All the piping and appurtenances to be replaced are, again, severely aged, resulting in many breaks and leaks and insufficient water pressure. All of these issues will be addressed by replacing this infrastructure. The next project is for New York City. This is for a short-term market rate financing. This is funding phase 2 of a previously approved project, which was funding phase 1. The project is for construction of shafts 17B1 and 18B1, which are part of the City Tunnel 3, Stage 2, which is located in Queens. So City Tunnel 3 is the third tunnel, the third connection to the city's upstate water sources. So it's providing much needed redundancy to provide drinking water to the city. This particular project is part of stage 2 of the larger City Tunnel 3 project. This is also known as the Queens Brooklyn leg of that project. There's 4 total stages. So these shafts, these 2 shafts are critical components of this portion of it, which is the connection between Queens and stage 4 of the tunnel, which is coming from the Bronx. These 2 shafts provide the actual water from the tunnel, which is essentially a large transmission main, which is buried very deep in the ground, and the shafts are vertical shafts, which bring the water up to the surface, so to speak, and where the distribution piping is connected in. So again, this is a very important redundancy project. Once the entire City Tunnel 3 project is constructed, it will allow the other 2 tunnels to be taken out of service, especially City Tunnel 1, which has been in service for over 120 years and hasn't had many, if any, repairs, and is in desperate need to be taken out of service for much needed repair. So this project will allow that to happen. So any questions?
Great. Okay, thanks, David. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Okay, unanimous. Resolution number 2. Resolution number 3.
A resolution of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation amending the prior authorization for financial assistance to be provided by the corporation to the Village of Nunde in connection with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Francis. And a second.
Second.
Christine, thank you. Rebecca Walker will present.
The case that we just have one extension this month. It's for the Village of Noonday in Livingston County. We're seeking authorization to extend the maturity date for 1 year. The additional time is needed due to long lead times and item and delivery. Completion is now not expected until the end of 2024. In addition, the village also applied for a WQIP award this past July. And so they are waiting to hear on award announcements, and we need that information in order to properly size financing for long-term conversion. Any questions?
Great. All those in favor? Aye.
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 Unanimous. Resolution number 4.
A resolution of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation making certain determinations and authorizing certain actions in connection with the Clean Water State Revolving Fund and authorizing financial assistance payments to certain municipalities to fund eligible clean water projects from funds appropriated for water infrastructure improvement projects.
Okay, can I have a motion and a second, please?
Make a motion.
Thanks, Vita. James, thank you for the second. Bill Brazell will present.
All right, thank you. Today we've got 3 clean water projects before the board for new financings. First is a long-term interest refinancing for the Village of Akron in Erie County. Project authorization just over $4.1 million. As part of this project, several components of Akron's 0.08 gallon per day wastewater treatment plant were improved or upgraded. Additionally, they will require to add disinfection to the treatment plant required by the DEC. This was the first major upgrade to this treatment plant since 1986 and included replacement or upgrading of a wide variety of equipment. Construction was completed this past September And the project was supported with an engineering planning grant from 2014.
Excuse me.
All right, next we've got a new short-term financing for the city of Utica in Oneida County. This is a bill financing, just over $3 million in interest-free bill financing, along with 3 different grants through EFC for WIA, bill, and base SRF, each approximately $306,000. Financing also includes a $573,000 WQIP grant, pre-financing of a WQIP grant from DEC. City of Utica has a partially combined and partially separated sewer system. They have a long-term control plan and were required to separate a lot of their combined sewers. As a result, they had a lot more stormwater entering into local waterways, which has caused some flooding concerns on the south side of the CSX railroad tracks. As part of this project, they will replace an existing junction chamber and construct 2 new 36-inch diameter stormwater pipes, each approximately 200 feet long, under the railroad tracks. This will convey the stormwater to the north side and allow the stormwater to get to the Mohawk River without causing any flooding in the city of Utica. Construction is expected to start next April and be complete by the end of 2024. And finally, we have a long-term financing for the Village of Warsaw in Wyoming County. This is a $4 million long-term interest-free financing. Village of Warsaw has a 1.2 MGD wastewater treatment plant, was last updated, upgraded in the 1990s. Additionally, DEC added a seasonal disinfection requirement through a revised speedies permit. Along with the addition of the UV disinfection, the project included upgrade or replacement of various equipment in the treatment plant and replacement of pumps at a pump station in the collection system. The project also includes replacement of the emergency generator at the wastewater treatment plant. The original generator was installed in the 1970s and it's getting near the end of its useful life. The new generator will be much larger at 400 kW, and it's compliant with EPA Tier 3 emission requirements. We spoke with the design engineer this week. They verified that the new generator, the larger, will be cleaner than the old generator, the existing generator. The generator had to be larger because the electrical load has increased. A couple of items that increased the load on this was first the addition of the UV system. The disinfection system uses electricity. And then the facility had an anaerobic digester. Actually, it's a small treatment plant for the anaerobic digester, and that equipment is near the end of its useful life. They're converting to an aerobic digester, and as a result, they're adding 3 75 horsepower blowers. There's quite a bit of electricity. So that was, as a result of that, they needed a larger generator. The new generator needed to be larger than the old. Are there any questions on these projects?
Thanks for the information on the generator. You know, I always struggle with it. Like, you know, putting in a new diesel generator, it's basically condemning us to another 30 or 40 years of, like you said, 1970s to diesel. And the tank, I'm assuming the tank doesn't have to be replaced. Didn't mention it.
Right. No, the tank is, the base of the generator is the tank.
Right. Again, I just wish there was some other technology out there that would be useful for just this need. Again, it's just, we call it emergency. That's the only time we ever need it.
They don't get a lot of use.
Right. But they do get turned on because they have to be turned on.
Well, they have to be exercised.
Just exercise it, and that's
They also prop up the construction and manufacture and sale of this equipment. I mean, we've been, I certainly share, Charlie, your concerns there. There's no way I can support a diesel generator, absent some plan to not have it be another 30 years of use. I mean, I didn't hear you say the 70s equipment is no longer working, right?
It is functional. They're saying it's near the end of its useful life, but it's also undersized for the current loads at the.
Right, but that should be part of the planning over the next few years in terms of having another backup, in my opinion. I mean, we've been down this road before. There's no way I can support spending public dollars on diesel generators for a long-term life, absent, different circumstances than this. So I just, not much. Doesn't sound like there's much you can do about it, but certainly not something I think we should be doing as an organization or as a state.
Yeah, my attitude is similar. It's just that we've made so much progress on, other applications of motors and generators, and we're still doing something that we've been doing for 100 years, and installed. It's not like we're sensitive to can't be like a car, can't be too big, can't be too heavy. We fit it into vehicles. This is almost the easiest application, not even on a boat or an airline. It's just sitting, on the ground. It's sort of, I have to believe there's some other technology that could serve, just like you said, emergency, limited use, because this comes with a tank. And we all know if there's a flood, what often happens is the diesel gets into the water, et cetera. We all know that what happens with these things.
Well, by our current standards, the generator should be up high enough.
Right, that's right. That's right. And that's, again, there are good reasons for that too. Just it comes with so many costs, and they last so long. And just like Adam said, they basically they're forcing us to continue to have the trucks driving around with the diesel, all of those things that we're trying to move away from. And again, I wish there was some kind of a movement toward moving in away from these. I don't know. We've talked about it.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have the answers, but it'd be great if we could, in a sense, force some alternatives, at least in some applications.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed?
How about both?
Okay.
It still carries, but I just think we should look for some alternatives.
So, Madam Secretary, you have those
Yes,
accurately represented?
I do, Mr. Chair.
We'll move on to the final resolution, resolution number 5.
A resolution of the New York State Environmental Facilities Corporation authorizing the president of the corporation or the president's designee to enter into contracts with firms to perform professional legal services for the corporation.
Thank you. Could I have a motion and a second?
I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Christine.
I'll second.
Thank you, Charlie with the second. I think that was maybe Adam. Didn't look up in time.
Sure.
Francis, maybe? Henrik and Maureen McGrath will present.
I'll go for it, Maureen. Good afternoon. For your consideration, we issued an RFP for legal services comprising 2 different categories. One is bond counsel, obviously very important because we issue bonds and we need help on matters concerning the securities laws, federal tax laws when we issue tax exempt, and our due diligence with respect to projects, generally speaking. The other less frequently used type of counsel would be general corporate matters in the event that we were to enter into litigation. Again, extremely rare, but it's good to have in your back pocket in the event you need it. The contracts, generally speaking, are 3 years with 2 optional 1-year extensions. And we have a list of 5 firms per category. No surprises as to which firms. These are all nationally and indeed internationally known firms that have expertise in the public finance market. Have any questions?
All right, Jim.
Go ahead, Jim.
Just quick, can you explain how MWBE utilization and rules play a factor in our selection process?
Yeah, so,
And we appreciate that,
yeah, absolutely. Thanks. That's a great question. Our firms do team up with MWBEs. So it's approximately 30% of the total fees go to MWBEs. So that they team up with other firms.
And then we have specific MWBE firms that are standalone.
Yeah.
So we expect the best efforts to be made to meet those goals, and they're all
absolutely.
That's actually part of the RFP response. They have to show us how they're going to do that.
That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything further? Thank you, Henrik and Maureen. Okay, all those in favor of ID number 5? Aye?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay. That concludes our resolutions. No new business. Our next board meeting will be Thursday, January 18 at 11:30, preceded by finance at 11. Everyone has a great holiday. Enjoy the month as we get into winter.
Happy holidays.
And I'll take a motion.
Blessed holidays, everyone.
See you for ethics training in the new year.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay.
Thank you, Charlie. How about a second? Adam, thank you for the second on that. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. We are adjourned.
Bye.